corn, fresh fruit salad, steamed vegetables, and garlic dill new potatoes. So when you don't feel like cooking, let us do it for you with delicious food you can really feel good about. We guarantee 100% satisfaction or your meals on us, only at Boston Market.
Now your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
Thanks for tuning in for a Tuesday Weather Center. Jill Brown, Jim Cantore, jumping ahead
So
there.
confusing.
And you told me not to throw you anything difficult, so I tried not to. Anyway, we have 3 separate heat waves we're watching. We're watching the southeast, the southwest, and also the northwest.
That's right, and the Great Lakes to Northeast, that is the place to be recently. It's been very nice. We'll see how nice it is today. We're going to check temperatures out and then throw it to Jim and let you know where it is raining.
Okay.
So let's start you, of course, in Texas.
I was like, wait a minute. What's
There you
happening?
go, 102 in Dallas right now. It's been a rough summer, no other way around it. Just dry and record heat day after day. No record highs actually so far today, so while it's hot, it's just not record highs. So we've seen the record highs around Dallas up to about 108, so although it's 102, not the record yet. 104 in Oklahoma City. Of course, it feels a little bit hotter because of the humidity, and that's true across most of the South now. Florida, you're suffering again today. Feels like 101 in Orlando. If the kids are out enjoying those last few weeks of summer vacation, make sure that they're taking a few breaks. 102 in Tampa. And if they're in the water, of course, that'll keep them from overheating, but don't forget the sunscreen, especially if you're down here on vacation, and you get blistered in a big hurry with the kind of weather that we have had. Very hot, very humid, a lot of sunshine. Of course, Dallas, we've been talking about your weather a lot recently because now you're at 23 straight days of 100-degree temperatures or higher. And at this point, it looks like tomorrow will be day 24. There's really no significant break coming up in the near future. So our forecast through tomorrow, where you see the red on the map, and that streaks right up to about the Williamsburg, Virginia area, and Richmond as well, should be hot, dangerously hot, when the heat index is expected to be 105 or higher. Make it actually the temperature or the heat index. That's when it's considered dangerous, and that's when you have red on the map. So in Florida, in South Georgia, definitely over to Little Rock, it's been a hot summer. And in the southwest, we've had a little bit of humidity, but actually when the dew points drop, that's when the temperature really skyrockets. The temperature can change a lot more quickly, go up during the day or down more quickly at night when it's drier. It is a little bit on the muggy side, actually in Phoenix, if you can believe that. No dry heat here. In the southeast, of course, it's miserably hot and humid with dew points in the 70s, and that's true all the way up through Boston. But even though it's sort of marginal, 103 in Phoenix feels like 107. That's your heat index. So even in the southwest, you can have problems with humidity. So throughout the west, the heat has been building and building. We've only had a few showers and thunder showers to cool things off. Again, Jim will check that out in a moment. So here's your extreme heat area, west, all of the south. And then we have these fronts coming along and kind of helping the situation out, not allowing it to get too hot. 73 right now in International Falls. A nice day in Green Bay, 85. Good day to be out on the bay. A little sailing Long Island Sound, no problem today. Temperatures are in the 80s. Water temperatures, of course, have been coming up, and around the Great Lakes, water temperatures are in the 70s. So this is where you have probably the nicest weather in the country, Great Lakes to northeast. On the other hand, we have some showers and thunder showers elsewhere, and Jim will show you where those are. Jim?
All right, we'll talk about the south, and over the last couple of days we've seen these thunderstorm complexes which have been fizzling out. Now all those old boundaries are sitting down in the southeast and helping to fire up some new convection. So let's go ahead and take a look at the satellite picture, and you can see where your cloudy afternoon is. Also notice the increase in the cumulus clouds all the way up into New England, and Jill was showing you those high dew points up there. And you can see how the moisture's come all the way back, and that's even allowed, obviously, with the heating of the day, for these cumulus fields to develop. Notice again across the Great Lakes, on back to the west, another shot of beautiful summer polar air coming across the Great Lakes, heading toward New England just in time for the weekend. I mean, it has been a great late July, and so far, it looks good for early August as we begin to head in that region. A few stragglers we've seen up around Bangor, Maine, and over through Millinocket earlier on today. Those do seem to be weakening, and we're kind of keeping an eye out here down through the southern Monadnock region for a few showers and storms. Looks like a little shower fired up over the Berkshires, but that's about it. We take you on south and west. Looks like a little shower here just southwest of Hartford. Looks like it's just south of Waterbury, Connecticut, actually. And then a few more storms south of Long Island. Another storm moving into Ocean County. There's Monmouth County up to the north. And then a storm just east of Delaware heading into the bay here around Cape Houghton. So keep an eye out, boaters, if you're in that vicinity. Not a severe weather outbreak today. What we would see would be more of a pulse severe type thunderstorm, like we're seeing actually down around the beaches of Jacksonville and also New Brunswick, even down to Flagler Beach. There were some special marine warnings out earlier on, and you can see the storms as they begin to fire in the south. Now, this is where all these old thunderstorm boundaries are sitting. Keep an eye out if you're heading up toward Myrtle Beach. Again, maybe a little delay on that little tea time this afternoon as this one band of thunderstorms begins to head on out into the Atlantic. Still some showers up around Gadsden, Alabama, north of Birmingham, still remaining quite cloudy. Storms are developing northeast of Rome, Georgia, and they're pushing into North Fulton County this afternoon. Here's the leading edge of the thunderstorm complex last night in Tennessee. That is all the way down into southern Alabama and southern Georgia now, and we've got a line of thunderstorms developing there, and that'll be sagging to the south. Well, this area of rain up to the north here, we'll get a better look at it with Nashville, is pushing through South Nashville now and heading toward Interstate 24. So if you're in this area, we've seen some pretty decent rainfall amounts with this in the tune of about 1 to 2 inches as it's moved across I-40, and there's no reason why it shouldn't continue to do so. A lot of moisture in the west, which has led to just a tremendous amount of shower and thunderstorm activity in the afternoon. One of the areas that's been wet around Salt Lake City, no doubt heading up.
During the Storm Watch, we'll be showing you where there are some thunderstorms this evening, although there isn't much severe weather, so some good news here. On the other hand, in the tropics, we finally have some activity. Steve Lyons is standing by to tell you about it.
Thanks, Jill. We do. We have a tropical depression in the Atlantic, and of course we still have the hurricane in the Pacific. Let's take a very big view of the Atlantic Basin and also Africa. This is where a lot of the tropical waves action comes off the coast of Africa. And here's our tropical depression out here, still moving to the west. Let's get the latest statistics on it right now. This is as of 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 13.5 north, 36.7 west. That's about 1,500 miles east of the Lesser Antilles Islands. So it's still a long way out there. You can see it here. These are the Cape Verde Islands. It's moving to the west here. And notice the speed. It's come up a little bit. Now it's moving west at 24. Part of that speed change can be related to where we actually position the center of the system. If we misposition it previously, it appears to be moving faster than it is. But it's moving at a pretty good clip, faster than it normally would be at this time of year. And the pressure's down to 1,006 millibars. If we look a little bit closer at what it looks like, we can see on the infrared imagery, not too good. It doesn't look too healthy on the infrared imagery. We had looked earlier today at some very deep thunderstorms around it. Now we see a couple of small clusters of thunderstorms. This may come back later this evening. The circulation around the center still looks pretty well defined, but it's getting dark there, so we can no longer look at the visible imagery. We're looking at the infrared. And some of these thunderstorms may come back later this evening. If they don't come back, that's great news, because nothing's going to happen without thunderstorms. Development will not occur. Now, as we go out and look at the entire Atlantic basin, we can see we had a couple of big waves coming off the coast here. The last few days, one, of course, was our tropical depression, and here comes another big cluster of thunderstorm activity. Here's our depression here, moving to the west rather quickly, but still rather ill-organized. The track generally takes it to the west the next 24 to 36 hours, and maybe a slightly north of west turn after that, or at least track, not necessarily turn. And if, in fact, it continues on its same course of development, a very, very slow development, may become a tropical storm in the next 24 hours or so. And if it would be Tropical Storm Alex, the first hurricane or tropical storm of the year. That's the name. Alex, then Bonnie, then Charlie. Now let's look at the upper level winds and see what's going on there. We saw earlier today that we had an upper level ridge of high pressure over the system. That's really fairly favorable. But as it moves off to the west, it's going to get under an upper level trough of low pressure, and it's going to encounter some of these westerly winds in here. So we're hoping that that will keep the intensity of the system down, and this should stay in place because this trough off the east coast is pushing everything to the south. As we go elsewhere, we can see out farther to the west of the circulation here, very fine weather. Very nice over the islands today, other than a few isolated thunderstorms extreme south by Trinidad and Tobago. So nothing really going on there, which is great news. We have a big upper level low pressure system sitting here over the Jamaica area this afternoon, and that's producing some isolated thunderstorms in combination with some heating there. And of course, this time of year, we don't usually expect to have too many tropical cyclones form in July, but we're going to be ramping up into the heart of the hurricane season very quickly. So prepare now before the heart of this hurricane season comes. Now out in the Pacific, we've been looking at Hurricane Darby. Its latest position as of 2 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 18.1 north and 138.2 west. It continues to move to the west on a westerly track at about 16 miles an hour. If we look at the satellite imagery, it's become much less healthy. We've lost an eye on it. Thunderstorm activity is coming back a little bit this evening, but the general trend is for demise and weakening the next 24 hours. And as we can see in the rest of the eastern Pacific, not too much going on. Here's Darby out here, tiny little dot compared to the overall picture. Not much in the way of thunderstorm activity here, organizing into any tropical developments. Well, let's see what Jill's got in store for severe weather across the country.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Back at home, things are equally as quiet as they are in the Pacific. We have those few scatter showers and thunder showers across the south with the needed rain, but not with a whole lot of severe weather, so that's great news. We expect to see strong thunderstorms and all
accommodations too. All of Orlando's fun is yours in Kissimmee St. Cloud.
And you can be a winner too. Call 1-800-367-KISS for your free Kissimmee St. Cloud Visitor's Guide.
Kissimmee St. Cloud. Stay in the heart of Central Florida's famous attractions.
Now your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
Welcome to the Tropical Update and Storm Watch. We have the first tropical storm of the Atlantic season, 1998, and we're also going to talk about some storms across the Florida Panhandle and how it may impact you. But first, let's go to the Tropical Update and let's update you on Tropical Storm Alex, the first tropical depression of the Atlantic hurricane season / tropical storm season, has become a tropical storm, and you can see the coordinates right here. There's the center of circulation, 13.8 north, 37.8 west. We have winds around the center of circulation at 40 miles per hour. It could become a stronger tropical storm over the next 72 hours, moving toward the west at 21 miles per hour. The forward movement was toward the west at 24 miles per hour, so this has slowed down a bit, and it's expected to continue to slow down as time goes on. Here's a look at Africa. There's a look at Tropical Storm Alex, and it could take a more westerly, northwesterly track as time goes on. Now, we're looking at no wind shear to speak of right now. The upper level winds are generally favorable for slow strengthening. However, as we move toward the west, over say the next 30 hours or so, we could start running into some unfavorable winds, but things could shift a little bit between now and then, so we'll be keeping an eye on it. Here's a look now at the highest cloud tops, the coldest cloud tops in that area of red, and again, we're at just about a minimal tropical storm, although tropical storm winds do extend out about 115 miles from the center of circulation of Tropical Storm Alex. We're still a long way from land, if you will. We're still out in the middle of the Atlantic. You can see the West African coast. This is where the initial tumbling of this storm system, of this circulation began, and then it began traveling. You can see it right here. So we're still well out over the Atlantic and pretty far from even the Lesser Antilles, much less the United States right now. But there's a look at Tropical Storm Alex, which is the first name of the 1998 Atlantic hurricane season. Bonnie would be the next one, followed by Charlie. If we made it to I, it would be Ivan, and then on down to Thomas for the T's, and then Walter for the W's. But here's a look at our trough here. These are unfavorable winds, and as we see that westerly, northwesterly track of Alex, once it starts running into this trough, these winds that are unfavorable, that could bode unfavorably for any strengthening or any impediment in terms of any sustentation, if you will, of any strengthening, even if it becomes a tropical storm. But it's supposed to take a more westerly, northwesterly track as time goes on. But let's take a look here at what's going on at Tropical Storm Alex. There's a look at the Mid-Atlantic. There's a look at the Lesser Antilles. We've got to go way back here so you can see how far we are. Many hundreds of miles. It would be at least 3 days before Tropical Storm Alex would reach the Leeward and Windward Islands if it were to do so. It may very well move north of the islands. We'll be watching it carefully for you. But here's a look at Cuba. We've got a tropical wave. We've got some low-level cloud swirls, and this is bringing some convection to the Greater Antilles right here. And so you can see that counterclockwise twist, which is indicative of storminess in the northern hemisphere, and that's what's bringing some unsettled weather to the Greater Antilles, the Dominican Republic, Haiti, and getting into Cuba right here. But generally speaking, as far as the Gulf of Mexico is concerned, we're looking good. No tropical activity because of an upper level ridge in charge right here. We've got westerly winds across Florida, which is on an average year unusual, but this year we've seen them fairly often. That's why we were so dry and had that fire threat for so long. But there's a look also at some storminess here that could move toward the Texas-Mexico border in time. Now let's turn our attention to what is still a hurricane, Hurricane Darby, 985 miles to the east of Hilo, Hawaii, but this will long be past the hurricane stage once it even approaches Hawaii, because right now it's beginning to weaken considerably. It's already been weakening, but that weakening continues in that not long ago it was at 85 miles per hour around the center of circulation. Now down to 80 miles per hour, moving toward the west-northwest at 18. Of course, here's Mexico here, the western United States. And
pretty typical summertime day on Tuesday. We had some pretty big thunderstorms scattered about the Rockies with a monsoonal flow once again. Some big storms rumbled through parts of the southeast with locally heavy downpours and some gusty winds. The northeast had a beautiful day, and well, much of the central parts of the Great Lakes look pretty nice as well. But really, out of all of that, the big story has to be the heat in Texas. And we'll get to that in a moment and how long we think that's going to last. Let's start off with our other big story, which is